Elon Musk goes undercover as homeless in a car dealership. The shocking ending will blow your mind. The sun hung low over Los Angeles, its golden rays casting long shadows across the bustling streets. Elon Musk sat in a modest hotel room, his face illuminated by the glow of a laptop screen. This wasn't the workspace of a billionaire, but rather the starting point of a highly unconventional experiment. Musk leaned back in his chair, stroking his chin as he reviewed an idea he had been mulling over for weeks. For years he had heard stories of people being judged by their appearance, stories of indifference, cruelty, and occasional kindness. How different would people treat me, he wondered aloud, if they didn't know who I was? The concept wasn't new to him. After all, Tesla and SpaceX had faced their fair share of skepticism in their early days. But now he wanted to experience it on a deeply personal level. It wasn't just idle curiosity. Musk had long believed that empathy and innovation were intertwined, that you couldn't build for humanity without understanding its many layers. He decided to conduct a social experiment, to see firsthand how people treated those they deemed less fortunate. Dressed in worn-out jeans, a faded hoodie, and scuffed sneakers, he grabbed a battered backpack he'd borrowed from a friend. Inside was nothing more than a notebook and a water bottle. He glanced in the mirror, barely recognizing the scruffy man staring back at him. Satisfied with the transformation, he left the room and headed for his destination, a luxury car dealership in Beverly Hills, where million-dollar transactions were as common as morning coffee. The dealership had caught Musk's attention during his research. It was infamous among insiders for its exclusivity and its reputation for catering only to the elite, perfect for what he had in mind. As he walked toward the dealership, the contrast between his appearance and his surroundings became glaringly obvious. Sleek sports cars zipped past him, and pedestrians in designer clothes threw him occasional side glances. Musk felt the sting of judgment even before stepping inside. When he reached the dealership, he paused outside to steady his breath. Through the glass walls, he saw a showroom gleaming with luxury vehicles. Polished floors reflected rows of sports cars and SUVs that most people could only dream of owning. Musk tugged his hoodie lower over his forehead, squared his shoulders, and stepped inside. The experiment was about to begin. The moment Elon Musk pushed open the heavy glass door, the atmosphere shifted. The cool, climate-controlled air carried the faint scent of leather and cleaning products, a stark contrast to the heat outside. Heads turned briefly in his direction, and then just as quickly people looked away. His mismatched outfit and scruffy appearance were glaringly out of place against the dealership's opulent backdrop. At the far end of the showroom, a sharply dressed salesperson was mid-pitch, gesturing enthusiastically toward a sleek electric car. Nearby, a man in a tailored suit ran his hand along the hood of a luxury coupe, nodding approvingly. Elon scanned the room, noting the subtle whispers and sidelong glances aimed in his direction. He wasn't just being noticed, he was being assessed. A receptionist seated at a glossy marble desk offered him a fleeting, polite smile before quickly diverting her attention back to her computer. Musk approached her, adjusting his backpack. "Hi, I'm here to ask about your vehicles," he said, his voice calm but purposeful. Her eyes flicked over him, from his scuffed sneakers to his messy hair, before she responded. "Do you have an appointment?" Her tone was professional but clipped, as if she already knew the answer. "No," Elon replied simply. "Let me see if someone is available," she said, though her body language betrayed her reluctance. She picked up the phone and murmured something to a colleague while sneaking another glance at him. A moment later, she hung up and gestured vaguely toward the rows of cars. "Feel free to look around. Someone will be with you shortly." Musk nodded, thanking her, and wandered deeper into the showroom. The closer he got to the cars, the clearer it became that he wasn't invisible. He was being deliberately avoided. Salespeople who weren't busy suddenly found reasons to appear occupied, flipping through files or typing furiously on keyboards. Customers cast wary glances his way, their conversations dipping into hushed tones. He approached a cobalt blue convertible parked under a spotlight, its angular design radiating power and elegance. Musk crouched down to inspect the tires, running his fingers over the tread, and then peered into the pristine interior. He made a mental note of how meticulously the dealership maintained its inventory. It wasn't lost on him that he was still being ignored. "Can I help you with something?" The voice came from behind him, sharp and impatient. Musk straightened and turned to see a middle-aged salesman in a tailored gray suit, his expression carefully neutral. "Yes," Musk replied evenly. "I was wondering about the price on this one." The salesman's eyes narrowed slightly, darting to Musk's shoes before settling on his face. "It's quite expensive," he said, his voice laced with an unmistakable undercurrent of dismissal. "Perhaps something in our pre-owned section would be more suitable." Musk's lips twitched in a brief, almost imperceptible smile. "I'm interested in this model," he insisted, pointing to the car. The salesman hesitated, visibly weighing whether to engage further. Finally he said, "Let me check on that for you," before walking off. Musk watched him go, noting how he didn't return. For the next half hour, Musk moved through the showroom, testing reactions. Each interaction, if it could even be called that, followed a similar pattern. Politeness laced with skepticism, quickly followed by indifference. It was clear he was being judged not for what he said, but for how he looked. And yet Musk wasn't discouraged. He was taking mental notes, observing every detail with the precision of an engineer. It wasn't just about the cars. It was about the people, and his experiment was far from over. Elon lingered by the display of high-performance cars, taking his time to inspect each one. Every detail, from the stitching on the seats to the smooth paintwork, was immaculate. Yet it wasn't the vehicles that captured his focus. It was the people. Time and again, he tried to engage the staff, asking about specifications, warranties, and customization options, only to be met with dismissive responses or outright avoidance. At one point, he approached a trio of salespeople huddled near the espresso machine. "Excuse me," he began, gesturing toward a pearl-white luxury SUV displayed prominently in the center of the showroom. "Can someone tell me more about that model?" The three exchanged glances, smirking faintly. One of them, a tall man with perfectly coiffed hair, stepped forward. "That's one of our most exclusive models," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "It starts at $150,000, but I'm not sure it's what you're looking for." Elon tilted his head, unfazed by the tone. "And why's that?" "Well," the man said, hesitating just enough to make his point clear, "it's a bit of an investment, if you know what I mean." "I see." Musk let the words hang in the air for a moment before nodding. "Thanks for letting me know." The salesman turned back to his colleagues, whispering something that elicited a quiet chuckle. Musk caught the faintest snippet of their conversation. "Guy probably can't even afford an oil change." Despite the blatant disregard, Musk's expression remained neutral. This wasn't the first time he'd faced skeptics. In fact, he found the reactions fascinating. Still, a faint undercurrent of frustration began to creep in. Was it really this easy for people to dismiss someone based solely on their outward appearance? As he wandered deeper into the showroom, he overheard snippets of other interactions. A well-dressed man was being showered with attention, a sales team practically circling him as they extolled the virtues of a limited-edition roadster. Another customer, draped in designer labels, was offered complimentary champagne while discussing customization options. The disparity couldn't have been starker. At one point, Musk found himself near a younger employee who was busy rearranging brochures on a counter. Unlike the others, this person hadn't laughed, whispered, or avoided eye contact. Musk took a step closer, watching as the employee meticulously organized the materials. "Excuse me," Musk said, his voice cutting through the silence. The young salesperson looked up, startled but not dismissive. Their gaze briefly scanned him before settling into something neutral, genuine curiosity even. "Yes, how can I help you?" the salesperson asked, their tone polite but cautious. "I was wondering if you could tell me more about this model." Musk gestured toward a nearby electric car, sleek and futuristic. "Of course," they replied immediately, putting down the brochures. "What would you like to know?" For the first time since entering the dealership, Musk felt like he was being treated with respect. The employee began explaining the car's features with clarity and enthusiasm, taking the time to answer every question Musk posed. Their demeanor was professional, free of the arrogance or skepticism he had encountered earlier. As the conversation unfolded, Musk found himself smiling, not because of the car, but because of the person standing in front of him. He made a mental note to dig deeper, to see if this employee's actions were consistent or merely an anomaly. The experiment was shifting, and Musk could feel the momentum building. The young salesperson led Musk toward the car he had pointed out earlier, their energy strikingly different from the rest of the staff. "This is one of our most popular models," they began, gesturing toward the vehicle. "It combines top-tier performance with advanced technology. Let me show you a few features." As they spoke, Musk noticed the details of their approach. There was no trace of the dismissive attitude he had encountered earlier. Instead, they were patient and engaged, even enthusiastic. They opened the door of the car, inviting Musk to take a closer look. "Feel free to sit inside," they offered. "The seats are made with eco-friendly materials, and the dashboard integrates seamlessly with smart devices." Musk slid into the driver's seat, his fingers grazing the steering wheel. "What's the range on this one?" he asked, glancing at the salesperson. "Approximately 300 miles on a full charge," they replied confidently. "And it charges to 80% in under 30 minutes if you use a fast charger." Their answers were thorough, thoughtful, and refreshingly devoid of assumptions. Musk pressed further, asking about customization options, safety features, and the availability of test drives. The salesperson answered each question with the same level of respect, never faltering in their professionalism. "You seem to know a lot about these cars," Musk remarked, stepping out of the vehicle. The salesperson smiled, a touch of pride in their expression. "I've always loved cars, especially ones that push the boundaries of innovation. That's part of why I joined this dealership. I wanted to learn more about the cutting edge of automotive technology." Musk nodded, intrigued. He could see that this wasn't just a job to them. It was a genuine passion. It reminded him of his own beginnings, when people doubted his ideas and dismissed his vision. He glanced around the showroom, noting once again how the other staff members continued to avoid him, their attention fixated on wealthier-looking clients. The stark contrast between their behavior and this young employee's sincerity was impossible to ignore. "What's your name?" Musk asked. "Jordan," they replied. "And yours?" "Elon," he said simply, offering a small smile. Jordan didn't flinch, didn't give the name a second thought. To them, he was just another customer. And that, Musk realized, was exactly what made this moment so significant. "Thanks for your help, Jordan," Musk said. "I really appreciate it." "Of course," Jordan replied, their tone warm and genuine. "Let me know if you have any more questions. I'll be right over there." As Jordan walked away, Musk stood in silence, processing what had just transpired. It wasn't just the kindness or professionalism that struck him, it was the integrity. Jordan hadn't treated him differently because they thought he was important or wealthy. They had treated him with dignity simply because it was the right thing to do. This was the moment Musk had been waiting for. The time to reveal his identity was approaching, and with it, the culmination of his experiment. Musk stood near the entrance, watching as Jordan moved seamlessly between tasks, assisting other customers with the same level of enthusiasm and care they had shown him. The other salespeople continued their charade of indifference, unaware of the pivotal moment about to unfold. Taking a deep breath, Musk decided it was time. He approached Jordan, who was organizing a stack of promotional materials on the counter. "Jordan," he began, his tone calm but with an unmistakable weight behind it. "I have one more question for you." Jordan turned toward him, smiling. "Of course. What do you need?" "What's the most expensive car you have here?" Musk asked, his voice steady. Jordan blinked, slightly surprised by the question. "That would be the Crimson E-Class over there," they said, pointing toward a sleek, futuristic vehicle displayed under soft lights. "It's fully loaded with all available options and priced at just over $250,000. Musk nodded thoughtfully. "And how long would it take to finalize a purchase if someone wanted it?" Jordan tilted their head, considering the logistics. "We'd need some paperwork, proof of financing, and insurance details. It usually takes a couple of hours. Are you interested in that car?" Musk's lips curved into a faint smile. "Very." The hesitation in Jordan's eyes was fleeting, but Musk caught it. "I'll be honest," Jordan said carefully. "Most people don't make decisions like this on the spot. Are you sure it's the right fit for you?" Musk chuckled softly. "Oh, I'm sure." Before Jordan could respond, Musk reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek black card, one that immediately drew the attention of the receptionist and a few other employees who had been watching from a distance. The platinum Tesla card, reserved only for the top executives of his company, gleamed in the showroom's lighting. Jordan's eyes widened slightly, but they quickly composed themselves. "Wait, are you Elon Musk?" he said, extending his hand. "Nice to meet you." A wave of silence swept over the dealership. Conversations halted, heads turned, and every salesperson who had previously ignored Musk now stared, their faces frozen in a mix of disbelief and horror. The man they had judged and dismissed was, in fact, the very embodiment of success and innovation. Jordan's hand trembled slightly as they shook Musk's. I didn't realize. I just thought." "You thought I was just some random guy." Musk finished for them, his tone kind. "And that's what makes you different. You treated me with respect when no one else did. That says a lot about your character." Across the room, the senior salespeople who had mocked and avoided Musk earlier were now inching closer, hoping to salvage what little dignity they had left. Musk's gaze swept over them briefly before returning to Jordan. "I'll take the E-Class," Musk said, loud enough for the entire showroom to hear. "In fact, I'll pay for it outright. And while we're at it, I have another offer for you." Jordan's brows furrowed, clearly confused. "An offer?" "Yes," Musk replied. "How would you like to join Tesla? We're always looking for people who care about what they do and how they treat others. From what I've seen today, you'd fit right in." Jordan's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The room was so quiet that the faint hum of the air conditioning seemed deafening. Finally, they managed to stammer, "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Musk said with a smile. "We can work out the details later." The other employees stood rooted to their spots, their earlier arrogance replaced by stunned regret. Musk didn't bother acknowledging them further. They had made their choices, and the consequences were plain to see. Jordan nodded, their voice trembling but firm. "Yes, thank you. I'd be honored." Musk clapped them on the shoulder. "Good. Now let's get that car sorted, shall we?" As the paperwork for the car was finalized, the atmosphere in the dealership shifted dramatically. Where there had been dismissal and disdain, there was now silence and tension. The salespeople who had ignored Musk watched helplessly as he engaged with Jordan, their expressions betraying a mixture of regret and envy. Musk leaned against the counter, observing the scene unfold around him. It wasn't the vindication he found satisfying, it was the validation of his experiment. In a place driven by status and appearance, one person had proven that kindness and integrity could still shine through. After signing the final documents, Musk turned to Jordan, who was still processing the whirlwind of events. "This isn't just about the car," Musk said, his voice quieter now, almost reflective. "It's about what you did today. You didn't judge me. You treated me like I mattered, even when you thought I had nothing to offer. That's rare, and it's something the world needs more of." Jordan nodded, their eyes glistening with a mix of pride and emotion. "I just did what I thought was right." "And that," Musk replied, "is exactly why I know you'll go far." He took a moment to glance around the room, his gaze briefly landing on the senior sales staff. They averted their eyes, their earlier confidence replaced by an awkward unease. Musk didn't need to say anything to them. His actions had spoken volumes. Before leaving, he addressed the room, his voice carrying an air of quiet authority. "Judging people by their appearance is easy. It's lazy. But seeing past that, treating people with respect regardless of who they are or what they look like, that's the mark of real character." With that, Musk turned to Jordan one last time. "I'll have someone from Tesla's recruitment team reach out to you. And don't worry, the car is yours to handle. Thanks for everything." As Musk stepped out of the dealership and into the sunlight, the moral weight of the day settled over everyone who had witnessed the event. The whispers that had started when he first walked in were replaced by thoughtful silence. Every person in that room was left with a question they couldn't ignore. How often had they judged someone unfairly, and how many opportunities had they missed because of it? For Musk, the experiment had proven more than what he had anticipated. It wasn't just about testing perceptions. It was about reaffirming his belief in human potential. Beneath the layers of prejudice and bias, there were always individuals willing to rise above, to act with empathy and decency. As he walked toward his waiting car, Musk couldn't help but smile. It wasn't the car or the reveal that made the day worthwhile. It was the simple fact that someone had shown kindness when it was least expected. And in the end, that was the real lesson. Appearances may deceive, but the heart never lies.